Corey Aquino survived 7 coups in 6 years. Now she's quitting, and the man who may replace her is an old Marcos crony who's still one of the richest men in Asia. They call him the boss, and he's on Late Line 10:30 tonight.
The ABC is proud to present its stunning new drama,
We need a car check.
Phoenix.
Welcome to the world of major crime. You know what they're calling us? Phoenix.
Right on target.
Operation Bloody Phoenix.
Go! The public is entitled to feel safe from its own police force.
And who keeps the force safe from the bloody public?
Compelling television drama, Phoenix. And the riddle begins, 8:30 Thursday on ABC.
Climax for Miss SA entrance.
And a civic reception at the Berry Council Chambers. Lucky girls. Good evening. We're back for our 4th year, and it'll be more of the same. From The Age.
Dead informer would not testify in drug trial, NCA.
An illuminating glimpse of the obvious from the Crime Busters. And from Brisbane's Sunday Sun,
Stripper kills man.
something of an anti-climax for readers.
A man was crushed to death yesterday by a wheat stripping machine.
Sydney's Sun Herald's been cheating too,
Teddy Kennedy faces rape court.
but only as a witness. Well, those are just a taste of what they've been up to while our backs were turned. The big story was that the journos got the PM they wanted and promptly turned on him.
Keating, we do not believe you.
Of which more later. And how else have the media spent our summer? Turning a blinding light upon a bumping pitch and numbing our minds with dreary repetition.
They'll be very happy with the shot. Border won't want to see that one too often. Again, Healy, I shouldn't think, will be very happy about that one. Again, he wouldn't be very happy with that shot. He wouldn't be happy with that delivery. Merv Hughes, having said that. Oh, and having said that,
they're still 3-0 in front.
One of Channel 9's experts is plumber Bill Laurie, no doubt chosen for his uncanny ability to predict events.
You look so sound in defence, David Byrne.
oh, he's bowled him!
Tony Gregg's been told to use the technology, so he does.
The 2 slips there, gully, point, extra cover, mid-off, mid-on, forward short leg, right there, waiting for the catch. He'd go across slightly into line, and if he was playing forward defensive, that would be what he would do. And the ball would hit and hopefully go down because of the angle of the bat.
Perhaps he even overdoes it.
Well, there it is, you can see it, and it is a very, very shiny ball, that one. Those little mini bats, they're all displayed in there.
Over on 7, the tennis commentary was no better.
What a night we've got to. What a match it was. What a performance it was by John McEnroe. What an upset. Well, what a moment it is in this 1992 Ford Australian Open.
And it seems the real skills of the sports commentator are those of a hyped-up white goods salesman.
Well, the fans are streaming into Flinders Park tonight, and fans streaming into Centre Court. We're expecting a capacity house of... Well, it is a great moment for Wayne Ferreira. A full house. Turn back the clock against Becker, the defending champion. But it is the showstopper. It will be jam-packed. It's a sellout. A capacity house in the biggest match of his career.
Somewhere in there, when they stopped selling, was a game. We expect little, I suppose, from sports reporters. Certainly nothing new. But the journalistic bankruptcy didn't stop there. Have we really got to the point where the reporter's only function is to ask, how do you feel? Whether the interviewee is a disappointed candidate for the priesthood.
How do you feel this evening? Can you convey to me some of what you're feeling this evening?
No.
Or the victim of a shark attack.
How do you feel?
Just as offensive as the predictable question is the gutless one, where the reporter adopts a variation of the "your critics would say" formula to mask his or her own view.
What do you say to those people who would suggest that this is irresponsible, they're too young, it won't last?
What do you say to those on the outside who view your views on this as Neanderthal? To some, this sounds like something of a political stunt, a quick fix.
A cynic would say that you were flogging a hot issue in order to win votes.
Alan Carpenter reports on the Treasurer, some call a class traitor.
Do you think some of them might ask, what would John Dawkins know about unemployment?
Some would say, why not let the dollar fall gently to around 70 cents?
And print headlines have been marked with all the intellectual vigour of a wet afternoon in the saloon bar. Puerile alliterations from the sports pages.
Sarah sets sights on twin title haul.
Cup of cheer in clash of flying fillies.
Ruthless Richie to rescue at Gabba.
Talent and tried in test.
From merchant of menace to mild magician.
Monica minced meat.
2-ton test titans.
Tomba is in town to take title.
A slogan that's run its race was the then Treasurer's apologia for the recession. No more of these, please.
The leader we had to have, the Prime Minister we had to have, the change Labour had to have. It's the Prime Minister we had to have. The leader Labour had to have, the Archbishop we had to have, Paul apart Sue had to have, looking for answers we have to have, the summit we had to have, Michael's having the election he had to have, the Keating budget, the one he has to have.
And isn't that where we came in? Next, a racecourse urger gets sniffy in the Telegraph Mirror at the emergence of some serious new punters.
A group of cashed-up Vietnamese.
His concern is that,
even if they lose, the Asians are back the following week, ready to do business again.
Picked up, repeated and prejudicially tagged by one of the giants of talkback radio.
Even if they lose, the Asians are back the following week, ready to do business again. They're everywhere, aren't they?
Other losers in the hiatus were Mr. Griner's candidate in a New South Wales by-election. Initially stuck for an explanation, he later seemed to be going for his leader's throat. But all's now forgiven, and with breathtaking logic, the unemployed butcher has been appointed as an advisor in the Environment Ministry. Losers too were the ALP in Tasmania. Clear evidence of that during the campaign when Labor's Deputy Premier horned in on a Liberal photo opportunity, creating a photo opportunity of his own in which he denounced photo opportunities.
Life isn't just a line in photo opportunities, Dr. Hughes.
But no photo opportunity yet with the Himalayan caveman. His story's a hot property, though there's surely not much you can say about eating violet crumble bars and drinking snow, and the media have so far been denied interviews. So they've made do with his father.
And what was the news?
She said James was doing fine.
His mother.
Oh, just make me. Just make me.
His fiancée.
I cried at first. Mum said, have you heard the news?
Rescuers.
Have you been able to piece together some kind of idea of how James survived for that length of time?
Another rescuer.
I asked him who he was and where he came from. Said he was James Scott from Australia.
An expert.
To last as long as, 43 days, I just think it's extraordinary.
A doctor.
It's mainly the care as well as the investigations. That's what his treatment consists of.
And the curtains round his bed.
James is reportedly making good progress. His condition has stabilised.
Or a bed like his. While the Australian reported the young survivor had found God, the Sydney Morning Herald had his salvation in the hands of that consultant to Cafe Society.
It is a story that has captured the imagination of the world, and yesterday, Harry M. Miller captured it all for himself.
Sorry, he's not well enough to talk to anyone for less than $100,000.
Which puts James Scott's ordeal right up there with Primrose Dunlop's. Now, perhaps you remember another giant of talkback radio, Perth's Howard Sattler. This was his comment 2 years ago on the death of 3 Aboriginal children in a stolen car.
Well, I say, good riddance to bad rubbish. That's 3 less car thieves. I think they're dead, and I think that's good.
Mr. Sattler has made a cause célèbre of the issue, as the ABC's 7:30 report told us last week.
No politicians will be speaking today.
Public pressure for action was mounting. A rally organised by Perth radio commentator Howard Sattler saw a crowd of 20,000 converge on State Parliament, demanding tough action.
Well, they got it. Governments are afraid of radio demagogues, and the result has been appalling new state legislation that mocks international conventions on human rights and would punish children more severely than adults convicted of the same offence. The 7:30 report was a pastiche of amateurish effects, tendentious and cheap.
It's been a war on the roads, fought between police and teenagers running riot in high-powered stolen cars.
You won't have missed the syringes, emotive and prejudicial, but irrelevant. The story also reran a file interview with a man whose wife and baby died in one crash with a stolen car.
Her husband Peter survived. His warning, his tragedy would not be the last.
Well, it won't happen to me again. It's bound to happen to someone else, eh? Something isn't done about it.
What they didn't report, and it was surely important, was that on the same day as their story was broadcast, he had joined those protesting against the pragmatic opportunism of the legislation.
It's not a good idea to lock people away for years and years if you have no system whereby they're going to be rehabilitated.
And leaving that out gives the lie to their claim to report on current affairs. And failing to report that the draconian law will overwhelmingly be applied against Aboriginal youth makes you wonder about their concept of journalism. Back to that big story. The cartoonists were in a "if this is summer it must be cricket" mood, and it showed. Warren Brown had Keating removing his own captain with a full toss, and umpire Button
out
didn't need to look. Michael Atchison had him refusing to walk.
Not out.
So did Ron Tanberg.
He's refusing to walk.
Jeff Hook had him being walked.
I tell you, I'm not out. You've only got to ask the popularity polls.
Mark Knight drew a team picture of 10 dissenters.
The Prime Minister's 11.
And Dean Alston had the press and the numbers man in the majority.
If he's out, I'm not Prime Minister.
Yeah, I'm sure he's out, Bob.
Yeah, out, I'm afraid.
No doubt about it.
Having seen him off to the pavilion, John Singleton's pavilion, the press were free to set about the successor. The Herald Sun's editorial, "OK, Paul, now fix your mess," took as its theme this immodest quotation.
I understand the politics of the country better than anyone else in it. My judgment on major political events has been impeccable.
Which they attributed to Mr. Keating. Wrongly, Bob said it. Richard Farmer spread out some sour grapes.
The most unpopular man ever to get the job, and there is not much prospect of things being different in 18 months.
And his editorialist's question was really rhetorical.
Or was he simply an enthusiastic meddler with a sharp tongue and a collection of glib lines?
The West Australian doesn't like him much either.
Sneering disdain for opponents and misplaced confidence in his own infallibility.
Faint praise from the Adelaide News.
His principal gift is for vituperation. His record as treasurer is, to put it gently, a flawed one. Nonetheless, he is better than the alternative.
But the Sunday Mail doesn't think so.
There is just a slim chance you might be better than the man you replaced.
Don Chipp put his foot in it in Perth Sunday Times.
Harold Holt, as Treasurer, was comprehensively hated in 1961 after his infamous credit squeeze, but was universally loved a few years later when he drowned as serving Prime Minister.
Just a thought. They tidied that one up when it was syndicated elsewhere. Still in Perth, Brian Toohey's comment was, if anything, over-optimistic.
Ironically, despite his past media allure, he can probably look forward to a short honeymoon in the job so many political journalists helped him obtain.
A fact of which Jenny Coops reminded us.
What's it like to have blood on your hands?
From our perspective, it looks like an interesting year. One last big story over the holidays was the Chinese boat people lost in the northwest. Good night from me, and I'll leave the last word to a plain-speaking bushie in fear of those boat people for his herd.
All they've got to do is bring in meat from foot and mouth countries, and we'd have a fair chance of getting foot and mouth through our flock and herd.
Tuesday night's award-winning drama returns with GP.
Congratulations, William.
Hello, sharp surgery.
With all the warmth,
One more monkey and I'll have a set.
the humour and the tragedy.
Call the police.
GP continues its outstanding record of hard-hitting stories, unusual characters and uncompromising honesty.
Be surprised.
Make an appointment with GP, 8:30 Tuesday on ABC.